This is the presentation COVID-19 by Lashylah, Camryn, and Terrilyn. Our lesson objectives are to explain the mode of transmission, briefly describe who and what is affected, and to identify the prevention measures. COVID was first identified in Wuhan, China. It is a severe acute respiratory syndrome, coronavirus 2. It is spread by person to person. And when you get it, you experience mild to moderate respiratory illness. There are 550,539 deaths in the U.S. today, says WHO.
According to the CDC, SARS-CoV-2 is transmitted through exposure to respiratory droplets carrying the infectious virus. There are two types of transmissions, the first being contact transmission, and this is direct contact with an infected person. An example would be handshaking or touching a contaminated object. The second type of transmission is droplet transmission, and this is exposure to a virus containing respiratory droplets. Today, there are around 30,695,236 cumulative cases and around 554,834 deaths. And according to Guardian Visuals, there are 172 deaths per 100,000 Americans. COVID-19 affects Texas, California, and Florida the most. According to McCullough, the virus can harm the brain, heart, circulatory system, liver, pancreas, and kidneys, as well as the lungs. And COVID-19 affects all the organ systems, for example, the respiratory system, and it affects the nose, mouth, throat, and lungs. And for the central nervous system, COVID-19 can impair speech, movement, or thinking.
So some of the signs and symptoms are fever and chills, cough, shortness of breath or difficulty breathing, fatigue, and muscle and body aches. Some prevention measures are to avoid close contact with people who are sick. Remember that some people without symptoms can still spread the virus. Use a face covering when physical distancing is difficult or when going into closed spaces. Physical distancing should be at least 6 feet. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects and surfaces. Get vaccinated and perform hand hygiene with soap and water or use alcohol-based hand rub. Hand rub should contain at least 60% alcohol. Hand washing should be done for at least 40 to 60 seconds based on WHO's recommendations. So the assessment question number 1 is, where was COVID-19 first identified? A, Japan, B, China, C, United States, or D, Iraq? And the answer is B, China. Question number 2, which states are the most affected by COVID-19? A, Michigan, Colorado, and Nevada. B, Iowa, North Carolina, and Georgia. C, Pennsylvania, New York, and Washington. Or D, Texas, California, and Florida. The answer is D, Texas, California, and Florida. Question number 3, what percentage of alcohol should hand sanitizer be in order to disinfect? A, 40%, B, 60%, C, 50%, or D, 55%? And the answer is B, 60%. And here are our sources.